Hey everybody, it's a sunny day and we're soaking up the sun rays in the best way possible aboard the 2018 Kawasaki Z900RS. Now this bike's pretty hotly anticipated from Kawasaki. It's their entry into the retro sports classic bike segment. And they're doing it with something that was really special back in the day, the 1973 Z900, a remake of that. Back in that day, that bike was the bike. You know, it put Kawasaki on the map in the US. Really proved some people wrong and made some believers, and kind of showed Honda and Yamaha what's up. Fast forward today, 46 years later, we're riding the Z900RS, and it's a really neat motorcycle. I think Kawasaki designers really did a fantastic job with the styling of this motorcycle. It looks awesome. It looks totally period correct, yet it doesn't have any of the period correct nonsense that you don't want to deal with in an old bike. You know, everything works so good. The headlight's bright, the tail light's bright, the instrumentation's awesome, there's no clutch pull, the brakes are sharp. Like, it's a magnificent bike. I really like how Kawasaki designers, you know, they stayed true to the roots of the Z1 and took it to a next level. This is a bike that you're gonna really enjoy, you know, looking at as much as you enjoy riding it. The engine on this thing, you know, it's not the latest and greatest power plant, but you kind of can't knock it. It just gets the job done. There's minimal vibration, engine super smooth, tons of power, tons of torque. You know, not an insane amount of power by any means, but enough to make you feel good and get you excited. The induction howl from underneath this fuel tank is just, God, when you're revving this thing at 8,000 RPMs, it just sounds so good. The exhaust note is cherry too. If you were riding this bike around town, you could turn some heads. It sounds that good. I'm actually kind of surprised Kawasaki was able to go so aggressive in the noise department. Usually they're pretty conservative in terms of engine sound and decibels and things like that when you're riding, but this bike has a little bit of a bark to it. Very nice, very pleasing. I wouldn't even bother changing out the exhaust on this thing. It looks and sounds so good that, you know, I would just leave it stock. I love it. Handling of this motorcycle, you know, weighs in about 472, 73 pounds, and I wouldn't say it's a heavy bike by any means. It's very maneuverable. It's easy to put where you want. It's a full-size motorcycle. It doesn't feel like a girl's bike or something wimpy. It's if you're a full-sized adult, you're gonna like the way this bike fits you. The ergonomics are real reasonable. The handlebar is relatively high, really wide. The sweep isn't too far forward or too far back. Very comfortable bike. The seat too, maybe my only gripe on the seat is I wish it was a little bit more firmly padded, but you know, aesthetically that seat it's dang good looking. Everything on this bike is really good looking. You know, probably the only squawk I have is, you know, these covers covering the radiator. These little metal covers are kind of flimsy, but that's it. That's my only critique on the aesthetics of this bike. At a sedate street pace, the suspension works good. It's definitely soft enough to absorb the bumps, but still, you know, can handle a little bit of rough stuff. I think, you know, if you're going to be doing some true sport kind of riding up in the canyons, I think the suspension is going to be a little bit of a letdown for those kind of riders. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more sporting prowess out of the suspension. It gets a little pogo-y, it gets a little bit just bouncy, when you're going fast on the bumpy roads. You know, back in the day in the 1970s, that original Z1, that thing like raised the bar for what street bikes could be, what they should be, how fast they could be, how well they could handle. And I wish Kawasaki engineers would have used that same mantra in the suspension handling department. But for most folks, you know, if you're going to be riding to work around town, I think this bike's going to do pretty well for you. This bike comes with ABS standard. You can't turn it off, you can't disable it. ABS works real good. I like how this bike has a big giant rear disc brake. I use the rear brake a lot when I ride on the street, and it's just nice having a big stomper. Front brakes work really good too. You know, they're not too sharp. They're real easy to use. You know, I could see how someone could maybe be like they're a little too mild, but for the intended audience, I think it's going to be good. There's a lot of cool looking motorcycles out there, but this Z900RS really, it's just a beautiful bike. It stays true to the roots while impressing guys like me who want to see the latest and greatest. They want to see the LaFerrari on the road. This is a very modern interpretation and modern styling mixed with the best attributes of old. And if you want a bike that's going to stay true to the old roots but still be fun to ride, I think the Z900RS will be good for you. I would have liked to have seen the MSRP been reduced a little bit. You know, at $11,000, this motorcycle is kind of expensive. And you know, I know Kawasaki did a lot of work engineering this frame to fit this tank, to fit this bike, but you know, the engine still, it's an older engine. You know, there's a lot of features on this bike that were used in other Kawasaki motorcycles, and a little bit of a savings at the dealership would be good. You know, if this bike was under 10 grand, I'd be a lot more apt to throw down my money. But for 11 grand, it's a steep value proposition. But at the end of the day, if you want a bike that looks awesome and nothing else like that's out there on the road today, brand new of course, you'll be happy with this Z900RS. Now let's ride.